incredible, amazing human beings. Happy Wednesday to everyone. It is Wednesday morning, mid-morning here in Amsterdam, and I think most people are either from Australia or the US in this group. So it is Wednesday night or sometime on Wednesday, wherever you are. So happy Wednesday, happy hump day, and thank you to those who have joined. Hey Dee. Just playing my favourite tune. I'll wait for a couple more people to see if they jump on, and then I'll dive straight in to the reason that we are overweight. So we've got a few on, so I might just jump in, and anyone who jumps on, welcome. And then if you're watching the replay, thank you so much for your time. So the reason that we are overweight. Now, obviously, gaining weight, getting to a stage where you don't really understand how you got there. There's a reason behind all of that. There's a reason why we gain weight. There's a reason why we get into a position that we get into. And in my opinion, based on my own experiences, based on working with a number of clients, based on working with a number of coaches, I truly believe that it comes down to these two things that I'm going to talk about today. So, first of all, let me just start by saying if I swear, I apologize. I'm quite passionate about this topic, and I'm also quite Australian, so I do swear. So, apologies if an F-bomb or something pops out of my mouth. So, I'm going to start by saying that I think overall the reason that I believe that our nation is overweight is as a result of all of the bullshit out there and all of the differing methods of weight loss, and as such, people getting overwhelmed and confused by the process of weight loss. They don't know where to begin. They jump between different things and don't stick out any one method or protocol for long enough to attain results, and then use the results for motivation and keep going. But let's start off by saying that there's a reason that we become overweight in the start. So for me, for example, I was a very overweight child. I was surrounded by love and affection by my family, but too much of the good stuff is still too much. We ate great portions, and our exercise was swimming training 5 afternoons a week, but it wasn't enough to burn off what we were consuming. So the reason that I became overweight initially was just as a result of eating too much food as a child and getting into bad habits. Now, once you're actually at the stage where, well, for me, for example, when I was at the stage of making a decision as a young adult about what I put into my mouth, I was then, I had a warped opinion on what was normal in terms of intake and food and that kind of stuff. So there's a reason as to why you get to a certain level, but what I want to actually discuss is once you're at that certain level and you're at this position where you're like, how did I get here? What have I done? Why am I here? And I believe that there's two reasons as to why we get to that stage. So, like I showed at the start, I think the reason that our nation is overweight is because of as a result of confusion and overwhelm. Because go on Instagram, Google on the internet how to lose weight, and there's like hundreds of thousands of pages of different searches that come up as things that you can do to lose weight. So first off, it's how do we go about reducing the confusion and the overwhelm around weight loss, and how do we find a program or a eating protocol or just a way of living that is sustainable and allows us to lose weight but also enjoy our lifestyle. So there's a couple of you on now, and I'm not sure if I can actually see the comments that you guys write, but do interact with this if you can, and then I'll just go back and answer at the end because my phone's just sitting there, so I can't actually type back to you. But do you guys feel like you're on a perpetual diet because you're continuously trying to lose weight, but you feel like you're getting nowhere? If you do, feel free to just comment yes below, and I'll be able to get back to you after the video. But have you dieted before? And if you're here, I'm going to make the strong assumption that the answer is yes. And as a result of that dieting, where did it actually lead you? So again, please feel free to share your stories below. But dieting is the number one reason as to why we're overweight. Diets are actually causing us to gain weight. So there's so many of these restrictive, ridiculous, unsustainable diets out there that we jump on board. Oh, here we go. I'm totally confused as to what to eat, etc. I've dieted before and I've had way too much information overload, to be honest. There we go. I don't think you're on at the start, Damara, but that's exactly what I said. That people are confused and overwhelmed. They just don't know where to begin. They don't know what to commit to. So there's this thing called the diet failure life cycle, and this is how it goes. You pick a diet and you start. So you start eating less. You lose some fat and you get excited, so you keep going. And then suddenly the fat loss slows because the likelihood is it's a very restrictive diet and your body's actually not eating enough. So your fat loss slows and you hit a plateau. And once you hit that plateau, you then think that you're failing and that it's not working anymore, and you decide to give up. You throw in the towel. You decide that you can't diet, that you can't do it, that you're a failure. You lose motivation. You have a blowout. You eat too much. And you give up. And then a couple months down the track, you're like, shit, I really need to get back onto the bandwagon again because I feel, X, Y, or Z, or my jeans are too tight or whatever. And you then pick another diet and you go again. And then you come into this perpetual dieting life cycle where you're actually not getting anywhere because you're just consistently trying different diets and getting frustrated with the lack of progress and then not moving forward after that progress. So if you have seen on my Facebook, I've done a series of weight loss myths debunked, and one of them is that weight loss is linear. The process of weight loss is linear, and that's so untrue because our bodies operate in such complex ways that weight loss is never going to be linear. So if you hit a plateau, don't lose motivation because it's so common for that to happen. All you've got to do is just make changes in terms of what you're doing to burn your energy and what you're doing in terms of your intake. But the number one thing is diet. So we go in this perpetual dieting life cycle, but we actually end up failing because we're continuously just trying new things. We're not sticking to one thing, and we're just like going around like a hamster on a wheel. And as a result, we create an unhealthy relationship with food, and we view dieting as like being in hell, and we hate the process, and we view foods as good and bad. And if we eat chocolate, we're a failure, and we're this and we're that, and we're like the worst human in the world, and we should just give up because we can't do this. And you're either on a diet, so you eat nothing, like a 1,200 calorie diet, for example, or a shake thing, or you're not on a diet and you just decide to like go to town because it doesn't matter. Now that process is actually really bad for our bodies, and the whole diet failure life cycle process is really bad for our bodies because we're really impacting upon our metabolism, and when we do that, we're actually impacting upon our body's ability to burn fat long term. So by dieting, we're actually gaining weight long term. So how many, again, please feel free to comment below, but how many of you guys have gone on a diet, say in like 12 weeks you've lost a substantial amount of weight, maybe like 10 kilos, and then a month down the track you've put like 5 of those kilos back on, and then another month you've put all of them back on? If you've done that, feel free to be like, yeah girl, and comment below. Now the reason I know that is because 1, I used to do it, 2, all of my clients used to do it, and 3, the majority of the globe does it because we try we have this mentality in our day and age of the quick fix. Yep, there's a couple of yeses rolling in. We have this mentality of the quick fix, and we become very outcome focused and not process driven. So we want the quick fix and we want it now. In fact, we want it yesterday. So we start these diets because we think that this one is going to be the last, this is the last straw. This is the last time I'm committing. This one's going to stick and this one's going to work. And we focus on it for a period of time. We're like, I'm doing this diet for 12 weeks. I'm doing this diet for, I'm doing the local gym's 6-week challenge or whatever it is. And you restrict, lose weight and get to a point, get to the plateau, and then you binge because you've restricted yourself so much that you feel deprived. And as a result, you then feel like you need to go and undo that deprivation and go and eat everything in sight. That process, again, is not only bad for your physicality, but it's super bad for your mentality because you're not learning about food. You're not learning about how to diet sustainably. All you're doing is putting a cap on your health. You're saying, I'm just going to focus on my health for 12 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever. But the process of that is seriously just fucking us all up, physically and mentally, because developing such a poor relationship with food is going to stick with you long term. And if you eat a piece of chocolate or have an ice cream or go out to a wedding or go for dinner and you eat something off plan or you eat something that you deem unhealthy or junk or, even the whole concept of a cheat meal, it creates this super unhealthy relationship with food. And as you guys might have read in what I posted yesterday and what I'm about to post today in my a few part series of the nutrition advice, food is just food. And actually this is today's one. Food is food, and it's literally just energy in the form of calories, and those calories are broken down into macronutrients. So there's proteins, fat, and carbohydrates. Now, so many people are like, I've got to be low carb, I've got to be low fat, I've got to be, whatever. But your body requires each and every one of those macronutrients for a different reason. And so when you can start to understand that chocolate is just carbohydrates and fats, and chicken is protein, and steak is protein and fat, and bread is carbohydrates. There's just quite a few of them in there. When you can start to objectively look at food and not subjectively look at food, you can start to learn that you can have a piece of chocolate tonight, but with the knowledge that you're not restricting yourself, you're not depriving yourself, so you don't need to go and eat the whole block. But in a dieting mentality, eating one piece of chocolate is the worst thing that you could do in the whole entire world, and then you eat one piece and you feel like a failure, so you just go and smash the whole block. 1 second. Sorry. So that's why dieting is actually causing us all to gain weight, because we're fucking with our mentality, we're restricting ourselves, we're depriving ourselves, and then we get to a point where we just give up and we put all of the weight back on again. So this nutrition series that I'm slowly releasing into this group and also on my email, I'm trying to educate people that food is food, and we need to stop being so emotionally attached to it, and we need to start looking at it objectively opposed to subjectively. So we all have these associations with dieting, and most of them are negative. And if we, like I just said, if we can start to look at food objectively, we can start to look at the process not as being on a diet, but actually just like eating in alignment with our goals, then you can start to switch that mentality around food, and you can just start to say, okay, I'm going to allow myself, 3 pieces of chocolate this evening because I feel like it and I'm on my periods and I had a really stressful day, and I can eat this chocolate guilt-free, knowing that it's just, hey girl, knowing that it is just, a bit of extra carbs and a bit of extra fat. And then that way you don't have to go and smash the whole block. You don't have to restrict or deprive. You don't have to go to a wedding and feel like you need to eat out of a Tupperware container. You don't have to miss social occasions. You don't have to not have a glass of wine. You can just start to look at food as food. And by removing the negative connotation with dieting, or removing the association and the attachment that we have with food, we can then start to align our eating with our goals. So the number one thing is diet. And if you would like to speak more, I'm going to be doing a lot more videos about this because I'm really fucking passionate about all of the bullshit in the weight loss industry and how much it's screwing with us and how, sorry. The weight loss industry is like a $20 billion industry. We've got the most personal trainers we've ever had in the whole world, yet we have the highest rate of obesity and it's rising at the most alarming rate. And by having this mentality of I want the quick fix and I want it now and not enjoying the process, we're actually not enjoying our lives. And by not enjoying our lives, we're not living our best life. And by not living our best life, what is the point? Because we only have one shot. So dieting actually becomes like the root of all of the evil. So I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on dieting and food and trying to educate people on removing associations with food and attachments to food and things like that. But the reason that I started on that little tangent was because I was going to say, if you guys want to have a more sort of detailed chat about that, please always just feel free to send me a message because I'm more than happy to help out with anything, because I am on a mission to try and reverse the obesity statistics in the world. So if you want to have a chat, feel free to get in touch. The second thing that I truly believe is a huge reason individually as to why we are overweight is actually the way that we Actually, the way that we identify ourselves. So if you look at yourself as a certain person, or if you identify with a certain person, got a frog in my throat. The person that you believe you are is the person that you will essentially live into. So, again, I'll use myself as an example. When I was 45 kilos heavier than I am today, I used to identify with the fat person, and everything that I did, everything that I encapsulated almost was around that identity. So because I identified as I was the funny fat kid, and that's just who I, internalized and then externalized. And so as a result, I wanted to fit in, and I manipulated my personality into different groups, and I just wanted to have as many friends as possible to feel like I belonged, because without that identity, I didn't know who I was. And so whoever you identify with, whoever it is that you believe that you are, that is how you're going to act throughout life. So the actions that you take, your performance, is as a result of your identity. And then after your performance or the actions that you take is your appearance. And that is the way that you believe that the world perceives you. So once you get to a certain stage, which is why I mentioned at the start about, we get to a certain stage and then, we get to a certain stage and then we can start to acknowledge the reasons that we're overweight. So I was fat, I was a failure, I wasn't a gym person, I wasn't a morning person, I was a procrastinator, I wasn't intelligent. I identified with all of these things as a result of, my weight impacted upon my mentality so much that I truly, down to the core, believed that I was incapable of weight loss and that I wasn't worthy, I wasn't pretty, I was dumb. Like, I had this story going, this identity that I lived through as to who I was. And so my actions replicated that. So I, when I went out with my friend, I was at college, at university, and so we went out like 5 nights a week, and I always thought that I had to be super drunk to mask my, I'm glad. I'm glad I can help you, girl. I thought that I had to be super drunk to mask my emotion, to mask my, the fact that I was so self-conscious. And so I was then like the center of attention because I didn't want anyone to know that I was so self-conscious and so uncomfortable being who I was that I had to be this like overtly outrageous personality. Now, I'm not a shy person now because I genuinely know who I am. I genuinely am confident in my own skin. But back then, I was this super extroverted personality, and I felt like I had to be that person to hide who I really was. Now, this identity that I formed for myself, I lived through that so much that I, down to the core, believed that being overweight defined me, and that people thought of me differently because I was overweight, and that my weight literally was just me. Like, I was just this overweight person. And so everything in my life was impacted as a result of being overweight. And I truly believe that the way that we view ourselves is then, awesome, everyone can relate, this is fantastic. I truly believe that the way that we view ourselves is another reason for being overweight. So we get to a stage and then we're like, fuck, what have I done? This is me now. And this is just how I live my life. And so as a result of that, you feel like you're a failure. You feel like you're not worthy. You feel like you can't do anything about it. You've tried all of these things, which brings me back to the dieting thing. You've been on all these diets. You failed them all. So what's the point? I'm now living this existence. I'm a fat person, and this is who I am. Now, even more serious to that, and what a number of my clients have shared with me, and this didn't necessarily happen to me. Oh, got a little bit too excited. This didn't happen to me. This is a story of a few of my clients in certain degrees, but some women were sexually assaulted. Some women were physically harassed or verbally harassed, and growing up were told that they, were a piece of shit or weren't worthy, or, being sexually assaulted as a young woman can make a huge impact upon your worth because you don't feel like you have the, the strength or the courage, or you just end up feeling like a piece of shit. And so, a number of my clients have been through really hard situations like that. And so their weight then became their armor. And they were never going to be bullied again, or they were never going to be sexually harassed again, or they were never going to be spoken to in a certain way sexually, I guess, because their weight became their armor. And that then comes back to the identity thing, because they started viewing themselves as worthless. And so their health then was put on the back burner, and their identity really impacted upon the way that they view themselves. And when you view yourself in a certain manner and in a negative light, then focusing on your health just doesn't even matter. So that's another a much more serious way, or a much more serious example of where your identity and your worth can really impact upon the reasons of you being overweight. But there needs to come a point where you realize that we have one shot on this planet. And if we don't, we are the only people responsible for our health, and we are the only people responsible for making a change in our lives. And you can live out the rest of your life in that identity. You can live out the rest of your life thinking that you're not worthless, thinking that you're not worthy, or, living in the existence of I'm a fat person and I'm a failure and I suck, basically, and speaking to yourself really negatively. Or you can decide that I don't want to live through this mentality. Being fat doesn't define you. Having excess weight does not define you. What defines you is who you are in here. You're kind, you're generous, you're an amazing friend, you're, an excellent worker, you have goals and ambitions at work, you are an amazing partner, mum, daughter, friend, whatever. That's what defines you inside here. Your physicality, your appearance doesn't define you. So living through that identity, when you can start to realize how stupid that is, then you can start to make a change. So again, this group is a range of people, and I'm not sure how much you know about me or my journey or Persistence Pays, but I had essentially what I call a wake-up moment, but there was an accumulation of pain leading up to that, like years and years and years of talking to myself really negatively, and, you know, you're fat, you're ugly, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, you're whatever, blah, blah, blah. Slowly reached my breaking point and literally woke up crying one morning after having thought about it for so long, being like, what the fuck am I doing? I was 20 years old. I was in, like, you know, the peak of where you think your life's amazing. Once you get a little bit older, you realize that there's plenty more of life after that. But getting to a point where you realize that the life that you're living and the identity that you're living through is stupid. And there's so much out there that we can go and challenge ourselves with and achieve. And once you start focusing on your health and you start to reverse your mentality around your health and how important it is and how important our lives are, you'll start to challenge your everything. You'll set these goals and actually believe that you can achieve them. You'll be able to inspire and empower other people to do what you've done. And that is an incredible thing. And this is the impact that I'm trying to create, is we all help each other towards living our best lives and living a life that we are really happy and that fulfills us. And once you start focusing on your health, everything changes. Like, you start to realize that you actually fucking hate your job and you've been sitting in that same seat for the last 10 years and you really hate it. And what the fuck am I doing here? Because my life is so important and I'm amazing and I want to live into my greatness. And actually what I want to do is this, and I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go do it. And once you start to realize that everything, our lives are so important and amazing and we don't know what tomorrow brings. So I truly believe that the beauty of our lives comes from developing ourselves, but focusing on our health, because if we don't have our health, we have nothing. And we can go and achieve all these amazing things, but we might die sooner because we're going to have a heart attack because we're 50 kilos overweight. Now, that's a very generalized statement, so don't anyone get offended by that. But what I'm saying is our lives essentially need to come back to focusing on our health, getting our mentality right, and loving our lives ridiculously. Like what I said before about our society being so outcome focused and not process driven, so many of us place our happiness on a future outcome. We're like, you know what, when I lose that 5 kilos, I'm going to be happy. Or when I get that job promotion, I'm going to be happy. Or when when my thighs no longer touch and chafe together and get all red raw, I'm going to be happy. But if tomorrow never comes, if we get hit by a bus tomorrow and we haven't been happy today because we're waiting for that day that we're going to lose that 5 kilos or get the job promotion or our thighs no longer touch, then have we wasted today? We need to know that today is a really, really important day. Tomorrow might not come. I hope to God that there's plenty of tomorrows left, but focusing on ourselves and on our health and our happiness and enjoying the process and really focusing on Ronan Keating if tomorrow never comes. I don't know how that song goes, but I would sing it otherwise. Yes. We need to know that today was the best day that we were capable of living. And shit's always going to happen. We're always going to be faced with challenges, and not every day is going to be amazing. Obviously, we're human beings. We have arguments. We have kids. I don't have kids, but some people have kids and they chuck tanties, or our boss is a dick, or, the bus was late, or whatever it is. But if you can be and show gratitude in today and be grateful for what we have and be appreciative for the life that we have, and love ourselves as we are, because our physicality does not define us. And if you can live today focusing on your health, focusing on being grateful for who we are and what we have, but continuously working on being that best version of you tomorrow, then I can guarantee you that you'll start to live your best life. You can start to change your health. You can start to change your mentality. You can stop dieting and start actually living. And part of that will be me helping you with this nutrition series that I'm just releasing and starting to learn that you don't have to be on this perpetual diet. You don't have to hate your life. You don't have to feel like you have to eat out of a Tupperware container. You don't have to, miss out on your friend's wedding because you have to go to the gym. Hope none of you do that. And you can start living a healthy lifestyle and you can start living a life that fulfills you and makes you happy, then I really want that for you. And let's put a stop to dieting. Let's start living a healthy lifestyle. I'm going to be helping you with that over the next coming, with this email series, and you can start to work out about how you can eat for lifestyle opposed to just being on a diet. And let's start to switch that identity that we've formulated for ourselves and that we've been living through. You actually have the decision about who you want to be. And all you need to do is start living through that identity and then your performance, so your actions, replicating that, and then the way that you believe the world perceives you or the way that the world does perceive you will alter as a result of you changing that identity. So stop living through the fact that you're fat, that, being overweight defines you, that you're not a morning person, that you're not a gym person, that you're not intelligent, that you're stupid, that you're not pretty, whatever it is that you live through. Stop that right now. And I would encourage you to leave this video and to go sit somewhere with a piece of paper and a pen and write down who it is that you want to be. I am strong. I am powerful. I'm happy. I'm amazing. I'm healthy. I'm beautiful. I'm intelligent. Whoever it is that you want to be, start living through that identity. Start formulating the person that you want to be and start being that person. Focusing on your health, but enjoying the fuck out of your life, because we have one shot and without our health we have nothing. So I hope that helped you guys. I really appreciate you guys jumping on. I appreciate those of you who commented. I appreciate those of you who got around the video. If there's anyone that you think would benefit from watching this, please add them to the group. In fact, I'm going to be doing lives in here a lot more often. So if you think that there's anyone who you think would benefit from this group, please add them in. Like I said, if you would like to chat about the dieting thing, please get in touch. If you'd like to talk about identity and formulating that identity and, living into the person that you want to be, also please get in touch. I love talking about this stuff and I want to help as many people as possible, women particularly, to stop living in that negative shit mind frame and really pushing into living the life that they're capable of and living the life that fulfills them. So thank you so much for watching. Please get in touch if you'd like a chat. I'd love to talk to any of and all of you. And health and good vibes. Kate Purtle, out.